In this project, we want to show a card with some kind of prompt text our users are trying to learn. For example, we might say, what is the capital city of Scotland? When I tap on the card, we'll reveal the answer. In this case, it's Edinburgh. Now, a sensible place to start for most projects is to think about the data model you want to work with. In this case, what does one card of information have? Now, if you want to take this project further in the future, you might think about various statistics you want to say. How many times the card's shown, how many times the user right or wrong or whatever. Here though, we're only going to add two pieces of information. The prompt text we're working with and the answer text. And to make our lives easier, we'll also add a static example property so we can use SwiftUI's previews in Xcode more easily. So, make a new Swift file, Command N, and select the name as card, and give it this starting code. We'll say the struct called card, which has a prompt string and an answer string, and a static let example value with a card with default values in. I'll use something close to my heart. Who played the 13th Doctor in Doctor Who? Answer, of course, is Jodie Whittaker, like that. Now, in terms of showing that in a SwiftUI view, we need something slightly more complicated. Yes, we're going to have two text views, one for the prompt, one for the answer, one above the other, but we'll also place them above a white rectangle, a white card image behind them to bring the whole UI to life. We'll add a little bit of padding so the text doesn't go quite edge to edge, it sort of wraps more neatly, but it'll look pretty good for very little work. In SwiftUI terms, this means having a VStack with prompt and answer, inside a ZStack with the card rectangle behind it. Now, I don't know if you've used flashcards in real life or not, but they've got a very particular shape. They're called index cards normally, and they are wider than they are high, which makes sense. Often you're using 1, 2, or 3 lines of text at most, and so it makes sense to write it lengthways here rather than sort of shortways. The apps we've made so far, however, haven't cared about device orientation. They don't care whether it's portrait or landscape. Here, though, we do, because our index cards are landscape, and so our app should run in landscape, and so we're going to disable portrait support in our application. It'll only run in landscape, giving us more room for our cards, and also later on work better when we add gesture support too. Under forced landscape mode, go ahead and find your target options here under the Info tab, and you'll see it has a whole bunch of options here called Supported Interface Orientations for iPhone, and it has 3 items inside. And if you open up the little disclosure indicator, you'll see what they are. It has Portrait Bottom Home Button, Landscape Left Home Button, and Landscape Right Home Button. Select this first one, Portrait, the item 0, and just press Delete. Remove support for portrait mode on iPhone only. There's also down here iPad mode for running iPad version. That has all 4 in. That's fine. But on iPhone, we only want to have landscape mode like this. So remove that one, then press Command R, build and run your code. And all being well, we should see now, yeah, boom. We only ever have landscape support. So it does landscape that way or this way, but no more portrait. Exactly what we want. With that done, we can make our first pass at a view to represent one of our cards in our application. So press Command N, make a new file, choose SwiftUI view, and then call this thing cardView.swift. Boom. Now, in order for this to work, it's got to be told what card it's working with. So it's a property, let card be a card. Then is our ZStack, which will have the card behind it plus the text in front. The first inside there will be a rounded rectangle because the index cards are usually gently rounded at the edges. Corner radius we'll say is 25. I'm going to add an option here, style.continuous. This looks a little bit more rounded. It's really, really beautiful. It's what Apple uses on all its devices. All its corners are continuous curves. All its icons and the home screen are continuous curves. The default is circular, which is a bit of a shame, but continuous looks better here. And I'll fill that in white for our background card. Here, dot white, sorry, here we go. Dot white. For the preview, make sure you pass in card will be card.example, so we have some real data to work with. So that's our ZStack there, one massive big white card. That's fine for now, don't worry about it. Over that, we'll place our VStack with text card.prompt. prompt, there we go, in a font of large title, and we'll force a foreground color of black. It'll be primary by default, so it could be white or black depending if I'm light mode or dark mode. But we've forced a white background, so we've got to force a black foreground as well. Over that, we'll say the text card.answer in a font of just regular title with a foreground color of dark gray. So it'll be, like that. Around the whole VStack, it doesn't go quite edge to edge. We'll add a little bit of padding, and then a multi-line text alignment of center. So we'll center the text like that. And finally, our whole thing needs to have a maximum size behind it. This whole Z stack here should not just fill the screen by default. I say it's got a frame width of 450, height of 250, like that. And it looks strange in the preview, but that's okay. These sizes are chosen intentionally. The 450 width is there because the smallest iPhone, so your iPhone SE or whatever, have a landscape width of 480 points. So this means our card will always be fully visible in landscape mode on our devices. Now this obviously, you can see it previewing here a bit oddly, but it'll be absolutely fine in practice because it will correctly be in landscape mode. Of course, you can't actually see it's a card, right? This is a white background. We're just seeing what looks like a regular thing. That's okay. What matters is when in a real landscape app, it will be the correct orientation and the correct size. However, a bigger problem in this case, that's our card size, this purple thing here, is that you can't spot the difference between this card, this purple thing, and the white background behind it. This is the phone background up here. You can't see that. There's no distinction between the card and the thing behind it. And this will become doubly important when we have a stack of cards to work with. They've got a whole bunch of cards to learn from, and they are all just blurring into each other because they're all just plain white. And so a simple fix for this is to add a gentle shadow around the rounded rectangle, around this thing up here. So we get this sort of very light depth effect to it. And right now it'll help us make our white cards stand out from the white background, but even better when we add a whole stack of cards behind them, it'll look even better because the shadows will add up and add up and add up to create real sort of depth effect. Anyway, add this below the fill.white.shadow radius 10. Now we can see our little card is a bit clearer, I think. There we go. That's what it's going to look like. So right now you can see both the prompt, which is the who played, and the answer, Jodie Whittaker, at the same time. But obviously that's not going to help anyone learn because you can see the answer always. And so to finish this step, we're going to add another property that will hide the answer label by default and then toggle it when the card is tapped. So we're going to say we have @state private var is showing answer is false. And now you can wrap up the answer down here in a condition. We can say if is showing answer, then add the texting like that. So by default, the answer will not be visible. It won't even appear fractionally. And it means it'll only show the answer when is showing answer is true. So the final step now is to add another modifier to our Z stack down here after the frame, which is on tap gesture. So we can do is showing answer dot toggle. So it may or may not show depending on when you toggle the thing. When you run the project now, hopefully, we're a small step further. You'll still see hello world in there. Our final job in this step is to add a simple card view, just to get us going in here. Not the final one, just a simple one for now. So in content view, replace hello world with card view, card is card.example, and press Command R. I'm going to switch to light mode so it's a bit clearer what's going on. And there we go. That's our basic card right now. And you can see it fits really nicely. And then if I go to portrait, nothing happens, only landscape works. When I tap on it, in pops Jodie Whittaker. So it works really nicely. A good start, I think.